A sophomore. She is from Cranford, New Jersey, and has a black cat named Hazel, who she absolutely adores. Let's hear it for Jade.
I love my mom, but she is not my mother. My mom was diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder, a mixture of bipolar and schizophrenia. I have never understood my mom, as it is so hard to figure out who my mom is outside her disorder. I relied on my mom's inconsistent behavior. When she stopped taking her medication, she would leave the house without telling anyone, talk to people that weren't there, and more times than I'd like to admit, found my mom naked, engaging in sexual activity, leading her to constantly be in and out of hospitals. I would have to take care of myself while making sure my mom got the help she needed. I was on survival mode, on edge, and ready to take off at any moment. I always dreaded what her next move would be. A side effect to medication was her anxiety attacks. She would probe at me with ridiculous questions like, why is the chair out of place? Or ask me if I was having anxiety, or am I having sex at 10 years old? No matter how calmly I responded, she would not leave me alone. Even when I would try to leave the situation, she would report me as a runaway and make me stay. She was manipulative and wanted me in her control. People would suggest I just ignore her, but there is no ignoring mental illness. My mom was abusive to me, but over time, this inability to escape led me to my breaking point, and I began to initiate the abuse. I would get in physical fights with her at 12 years old. I hated myself for the person I had become. To this day, I ask myself, what was I supposed to do? With no parental structure, I began binge drinking, eating, and extreme shopping. I committed self-harm and was hooking up with guys. We're still talking age 12. I even tried committing suicide at one point. I used people like my friends and sister to fill the void inside, thinking they could cure me. The way I coped only fulfilled me temporarily. None of these ways were lasting. The only outlet I had was my writing, leading me to be a journalist and poet today. There were attempts for me to get adopted, but they didn't work out, and I felt rejected and worthless. I felt like no one loved me, nor was willing to care for me. I had no home, no family, and no place in this world. The people who were supposed to be my family and outsiders were quick to judge me, but never willing to help me. No one wanted to step out of their comfort zone to reach another person who was hurting and in need, and that is much like the state of our world today. My mom and I switched roles. I was expected to act like an adult by predicting her every move while handling the consequences, yet still follow the rules of a child. However, instead of recognizing what I was going through, I was seen as a rebellious teenager, an assumption that pulled me farther away from hope. It is wrong for someone who is mentally ill, who can barely take care of themselves, have the responsibility of taking care of a child. Due to the systems in place, I lost my childhood. Desperate for community, I began emailing Christian youth groups, and this is where I met my youth leader, Kay. It took me a year to open up to her, and I began going to her house after school every day. Little did I know she was a foster mother. My mom ended up going into the hospital 30 to 90 days, and they told me it would take 30 to 90 days, and I would stay at Kay's for the time being. She got out 2 weeks later. I was devastated, not wanting to go back to the place that brought me so much pain. With the help of my therapist, we arranged an unofficial adoption. It was a relief, but after living with stress and chaos for so long, it felt too peaceful. I was 17 years old at the time. To this day, I have no idea why my mom signed it. Kay was the first person to listen to what I had to say and guarantee I would always have a place to stay. I finally had the family I always dreamed about and realized we didn't have to be blood related to be considered family. She showed me a kind of love that I did not see in anyone, and that was God's love. God brought me into the perfect person who would change my life around. I felt like I could not rely on this world, that there was something bigger out there who was watching over me, who could turn something so bad into something so good. I finally was able to grow into the person I am today. This journey has brought me depression and trauma, but it has also given me the gift to relate to almost anyone and feel a deep sense of compassion deriving from walking into the deepest and darkest places of brokenness. Kay gave me a new definition of who a mother was supposed to be and replaced the one I was so damaged by. My actual mother was not and will never be a mother to me. And that's what continues to make our relationship so confusing to this day. Kay and her family showed me a love I had always been looking for, and I realized I wasn't alone. Now, I want to help others as much as I can so they never have to feel a moment in their life the way I had to. I am loved. This is my family.